And the way he reacted to Obama winning was cool.
Yeah.
I like the way he handled that. And in the middle of that, you got another connective tissue guy, which is McCain. McCain was a great man, I think.
Yeah, those clips of him when he's debating Obama and someone's like, he's a Muslim. And he's like, he goes, don't say that.
You got to stop. He was like, he took the microphone away. She goes, he's an Arab, this lady. And he goes, no. Give me. He says, listen, I don't agree with the guy about how to run the country, but he's a good man. We're starting with that he's a good man.
Yeah.
And then there was the lady who yelled out during Sarah Palin's rally. She said, you need gloves to touch him, which is a weird
shit.
But it's like, what does that mean? Like, he's very delicate, or
it's the most racist thing I've ever heard.
But also, why do you want to touch him? It's almost like she's like, I want to touch him. Why do I have to wear gloves? But so that was crazy, and McCain handled it as best as he could. There's another McCain thing. Fuck. Oh, he had a great story about Obama. Because he met Obama when Obama was in the Senate. And someone asked McCain, what was your first impression of him? So he said, well, I remember when Obama, his first day, like in the Senate, he came to see me. And he said, listen, I think that, you're the smartest guy on the other side, and I wanted to be bipartisan. And he said, let's you and I talk and find something that we both care about. Like, that was Obama's first idea. And so McCain and him they talked for about an hour, and they came up with something they both cared about. And he's like, let's work on that together. And McCain said, sure. And he was a veteran senator at this point. And Obama goes off, and then the Democratic leadership gets to Obama and goes, dude, you don't just fucking do that. What the fuck are you doing? And then he saw McCain in the hall. Obama was like, he just pulled the plug. And so the interviewer asked McCain, you have a bad opinion of him? And he goes, not at all. He said, it was a rookie mistake. It was a rookie mistake that he thought he could just do
to think we could get something done.
And also the way he handled the getting out of it was rookie. He said, but I knew that he had a good heart. This is how McCain was such a guy. He was running against the guy, and he kept praising him. But so Obama, we're almost there.
We're so close. It's going to be dark. Obama. What do you think, man? You like him?
I loved him. I just loved him from the get-go. And I could tell that he was a lot of flash on some level.
Yeah.
But one of the first things I heard about him that impressed me was Biden. Because Biden said he just getting to know him. He said, I got to tell you, he's a really surprising, bright guy, for a black guy.
Yeah. Well spoken.
It felt like that a little. But Biden was like, he said, I got in a phone call with him, and there was three of us on the call, and then Obama jumped on. He said, I have 4 questions for this group. He asked his questions. He gave his comments, and he got off. And I was like, that guy has got a good mind. The guy's got I do think Obama had a mind that got around the president. He got his brain around
Yeah,
him.
I think so.
And the picture of him leaning down so some kid could touch his head, that's as important as almost anything with the president.
You ever see Trump put the candy bar on the Minion?
Put the candy bar on the what?
There's a Halloween. They're doing the Halloween thing.
Yeah.
And just a kid in like an inflatable Minion costume comes by, and he's like, he just puts a candy bar on his head. He's like, get out of here.
Obama.
Obama was a great speaker.
And he gave people a feeling about where the country was, and he brought a feeling to the presidency that there was a kindness in it. And I learned a lot from him in terms of confrontation. And like, he debated with McCain, and McCain was just kind of like bulldogging him. And Obama knew that you don't win in the room. You don't win because he says you're right. He's never going to say you're right. There's other people watching. Like, I've learned from this in my life. Like, this guy's going, and Obama would say something, and McCain would attack, and Obama would just go, all right, and just look at the camera and smile. And people at home are going like, I like what he said better. I don't need him to attack this guy to make the point. I like the sound he's making better than his sound. It's not about who wins this. And McCain being like a military guy, this was his way.
Do you ever get to meet Obama?
I never got to meet Obama, but I was in Washington, and I was a big deal at the time. And I thought maybe I could meet the president. I was staying at the Hey Adams, which is across the street.
You call him? You call the White
So
House?
I called my publicist. Who I no longer have one of those. I used to have an agent and publicist, and I don't have none of these people anymore. But I called my publicist and said, "Do you think there's any way I could meet the president while I'm in town?" As I was on the phone, I saw Marine One taking off, and he was on hold. Then he came back and said that they said he just left. But they said, they asked, and they said that Obama asked to ask you if you would help them come up with jokes for the correspondence dinner, because it was in a few days, and they're meeting to try to write it. And they asked if you come across the street to the White House and pitch in, and I said, of course. So I went into the White House, and they gave me a pass, and I went down to their little room. The White House, the rooms that aren't the Oval Office are all shit, because they keep packing, because government never stops growing, but the White House stays the same size. I mean, that's my idea of it. But I was literally, I had to duck into the room because the ceiling was so low. And it was like his head speechwriter. It's John Favreau or something, weird, same name as John Favreau. But anyway, so we sat in his office, and I pitched jokes. And I got one in. He opened with my joke, which was, because it was his last one, and Trump had won, so it was his swan song. And my joke was, it's an honor to be here for my last correspondence dinner, probably the last correspondence dinner. And it turned out to be true. Trump,
you were close.
Do him. Yeah, Trump.
They just did the first one.
Yes. But anyway, he did that. He opened with my
I was
joke.
hoping you didn't write the one that made Trump the president.
No, that was before. Yeah, it was before.
Yeah, you remember that?
No, I didn't. Yes.
That's one of my favorite clips of all time.
Oh, I mean, Obama was so good.
It's
he was such a
destroying Trump in front of everyone.
And Trump's just sitting there, I'm going to be fucking president, you piece of shit.
It's pretty good.
Yes, it is.
I do respect those moments, just like Cheney in the movie.
Sure.
Where they're like, you got to change it. And I was like, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
It's a cool, like watching Trump sit there with his fucking hair just bobbing while everyone's laughing. It's like, all right, we'll see. We'll see.
Laugh at Trump. See what happens when you laugh at Trump. And that's, by the way, psycho. What he was thinking was literally the words, laugh at Trump.
Everybody's laughing at Trump.
Don't laugh, because he talks about he talks about Trump. So Obama wrote me a letter saying, thanks for helping, and I'm a fan, and maybe we'll meet someday, but I never met him.
Yeah.
And he went on Mark Maron's podcast, and they talk about politics for like 2 hours. And at the end, Maron asked him, did you enjoy being on the show? And Obama said, I thought we were going to talk about comedy. And Maron was like, oh, because he talks about politics everywhere. Yeah. And he goes, oh, well, who are your favorite comedians? And he says, well, I like Jerry Seinfeld and Dick Gregory. But the guy I really love is Louis, because you can tell, even though he says terrible things, he's a good guy. Something like that. He said something nice about it. Meant a lot to me, because I just, with no regard for history or morality, I just love Obama.
Yeah.
I have no idea if he's done good or bad, but as a guy, I just really, I dug him.
Yeah. He seems like he's just an incredible speaker, and he was like what a president should be.
That's right. Just
on appearance,
carrying the office, and the way he operated, and the way he communicated. And things started getting really fucked up during Obama in this country. People started to get really
the banks. I mean, that was
insane. All that shit, but also just like. The word problematic happened under Obama. Like his last 4 years was when people started getting ultra sensitive and trying to dig down into where is our moral center, to the point where you're just never going to find it, because human beings are flawed. And that started, I think Obama left in a strange place, because it was like, what were we all doing? I remember seeing famous liberals saying, I'm disappointed in this president. I'm like, yeah, when he was running, Shepard Fairey did the cool poster of him, and Wyclef, whoever the fuck, did a song in black and white video. But once he's president, everyone's like, it's not cool to help the president.
Yeah.
So they all just vanished. And he's like, hey guys, I'm the only black guy even here. I'm not just the first black president. I'm the only black guy at this level, and no one's helping me. I mean, that's how I felt, was that he got kind of abandoned, and he couldn't find and Congress became weird. But I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
Again, that's not my expertise. My thing is I really dug the guy as a person and the way he carried the office. And he was another example where I was like, that feels like a democracy. And a lot of people would be like, well, then you're deluded, fine.
Sure.
But I'm 54 and that's how I feel.
Yeah. That was the first election that I remembered. It seemed to start to get really polarized. Mm-hmm. Like I remember when he won, people I was with were upset.
Yes. That
that wasn't even close to where we got.
That was the first time I remember the world being that there were people who hated the president. That was the first time. I mean, Reagan, my mom was upset. But one thing I'll say, I know we're getting
we're good.
So
obviously we're gonna close with the dog.
So my mom really surprised me twice. My mom died a couple of years ago, but she was like my best friend and my intellectual counterpart. She's who I talked to about everything. And I remember, first of all, when John Kerry ran for president, I called her up because I have 3 sisters. And my mom and I basically controlled the household vote. So we figured we're super delegates. We have 5 votes.
Yeah.
So they just, because my sisters would vote for whoever we said. My mom was a Republican and a conservative as a kid. And then Jack Kennedy came to speak at Michigan, where she was in college. And a friend of hers grabbed her and said, "You're coming to watch Kennedy." And they sat in the front row with knitting, waiting while the crowd gathered. And then she watched Kennedy speak from this close. And she was a Democrat from that day on. But when I called her and said, "So we're voting for Kerry?" She said, "I'm not voting for that guy." I was like, "What?" And she said, "I won't vote for him. I won't vote at all. Because I can't vote for Bush, but I can't vote for that man because my brother was in Vietnam and we were scared every day that he was going to die. And Kerry came home and spoke against the troops. That's how we felt." And she says, I know now, I look at it differently now, and that he was trying to do good, but it just left a bad taste in my mouth. He was a rich kid and my brother wasn't. And he did one tour, came home and started, grandstanding while there's boys over there getting killed every day. And he was pulling support out from under their feet.
Yeah.
So I can't do it. And I'm like, "Mom, there's more to the story." She's like, "I know, but you can't make me vote for the
Mom,
guy."
you have to vote for John Kerry.
You have to vote for John Kerry, who was a fucking, I mean, he's still alive, so I don't want to say, but geez, he had lipstick. He was like, "I report for," he was a mess.
Yeah.
And then his fucking wife, Teresa Hines, "I am Teresa Hines, and I have something to say." It was like, we're done. We lost.
Yeah.
Fuck him. And also, by the fucking way, take that part out.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually, it's the one part I want out.
Okay.
About wow. I feel bad because people make mistakes. But
okay.
When Bush was running against Kerry, a thing that came up that was big was gay marriage. It was starting to be an issue. And I got really angry at John Kerry then because Bush had a really sound argument. It wasn't, and this is when people started just lobbing names at each other, right? It's anti-gay people. It's homophobic to be against gay marriage. Bush made an argument that was practical. He said, "Listen, marriage is the easiest contract in the whole world." And by the way, during that time, they weren't talking about national gay marriage. They were talking about the states that had started to
it was
legalize.
Like Massachusetts.
I think California.
Yeah.
So he said, marriage is the simplest contract in the world. It costs $10 most places, and it's ironclad, and it's accepted all over the world as meaning the same thing. Now, if you start messing with that and you start saying, "Well, this means this here, it means this there," you're messing with an institution that is the backbone of the family and this country. That is such a good argument. Now, you can argue against it, and people have very well.
Yeah.
This is nothing to be afraid of. This is about their rights, all kinds of things. But the Democrats didn't want to say, this is their right. Why would the thing you just said, why would you deprive gay people of it? You're living in a fucking in a time capsule. This is important. Yeah. It's the same as they said this about interracial marriage. There's a million arguments. But Kerry didn't want to go there. He was like, look, it's a man and a woman to me, but I don't think but they're homophobic. They don't like gay people. And Cheney's daughter's gay, and I don't have a problem with Cheney's daughter being gay. They did that.
Yeah.
Edwards did it. Edwards said, because Cheney and him debated. He said, I think it's great that his daughter's gay. I think that's great. What do you think of that? And he expected Cheney to have a bad moment. And Cheney, who's a very complicated guy, said, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love her. Oh, I mean, they just won right there. So go. I don't know how I got back to him.
We're at the end of
Obama
into Trump. Oh yeah, this is like I was saying. Like I remember when Obama beat Bush or Romney. That was the first time I felt like, oh, this was like totally divided. Because towards the end of Bush, everybody hated Bush. Like that was divided. Half the country, really hated him. Like bands were coming out with music against him. Like
that's why. Because I was saying people hated Obama so much, and it's when I started feeling things coming apart because I had that moment about Bush. I was against Bush as president, but I could see where he was at. And then the other thing it's because of my mom. So when Obama was running, I'm like, we're in for Obama, right? We're doing Obama. And my mom said, I'm not voting for Obama. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? She said, I'm not voting for him because he picked Joe Biden as a vice president. And Hillary Clinton had nearly beat Obama in the primaries. And she had done an incredible campaign. Her campaign was historic because she was the first woman to run effectively for national office and to get that close. It was a big deal. She said she won, and she also remembers when she was younger that typically the guy running for president, his running mate would be his rival. You pick your rival because it's your way of saying, I'm not afraid of my rival. I can work with the people it's how you unite the party. It's what Reagan did with Bush. It's what Kennedy did with Johnson. Johnson was bitterly hated Kennedy, and then Kennedy subjugated him by saying, you're going to run with me. We're going to do this together, buddy. And I'm not afraid of your rivalry because I'm strong, right? And he said he didn't pick Hillary and she earned it. And he gave it to Joe. And the name Joe drove her crazy. She didn't care about Biden was fine. She said, Joe Biden's a regular guy. And my mother worked her whole life. She was a single mother. She says, I worked my whole life. And me and women I worked with would earn the spot and it would be given to Joe. Just some Joe who smiled and knew how to work it.
Yeah.
And the woman who earned it gets fucked. And the reason I hate him for it is because it means he has no balls. My mother said this. Obama has no balls because he picked a guy. He didn't want to pick her because he's afraid of women. And he's afraid of a strong woman. And she said, I'll never vote for him.
I think he was afraid of losing.
She did not use the N-word.
I think he was afraid of losing.
So, no, I don't think that's what happened. But here's what's cool about it. McCain picked Palin. And then my mother said, I'm going to vote for Obama now for the opposite reason, which is McCain picked Palin as who's an idiot, a douchebag, a retard, who I personally love now. I'll get to that later, but you know what I met her? Did I tell you? I met all these. It's crazy how many people I met. She said he picked McCain to get the woman's vote.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get a smart woman's vote by picking somebody like that. So I'm voting for Obama. And then later I checked in with my mom when Obama became president and made Hillary Clinton Secretary of State, which is a far more important position than I called my mom and I said, you got to give that to him. And he didn't run on it. He didn't say to the women of the world, I'm going to give it. He didn't tell anybody. He gave her the job because he thought she had earned that job to actually do.
Yeah.
Not just the bullshit political position. She said, yes, I'm with you. And she ended up loving Obama. But Sarah Palin, amazing person. Amazing person. I mean, when McCain announced her and she spoke, her first national speech and did the joke about, the difference between a bulldog and a hockey mom? Lipstick. And the place is going ape shit.
Yeah.
I was like, this woman's incredible. She was an incredible force in American history to me. And I was on an airplane one day flying home from LA, and I got drunk on rum and Coke. When I drink rum and Cokes, it's like being on acid because you get a lift from the sugar and the caffeine, and rum is it's a mental drink, rum. And I start tweeting. I didn't know what Twitter was. I didn't understand what Twitter was. I just loaded it on my phone. I had about 5,000 followers. And I wrote something like, there's a family of Chinese people living in Sarah Palin's cunt. That's the only tweet I remember.
Yeah.
I want to fuck her tits with my father's cock. That's what I said. I just started tweeting about her.
Solid tweet.
And then, solid
like
tweet.
a Legion of Skanks fan.
And my Twitter followers, it's just going up. By the time the plane landed, I had 250,000 followers. I didn't understand what Twitter, they look at it on their phone.
Yeah.
I thought they go check the website and they look at my name. I didn't understand that people are getting like a phone call and seeing what I said and then sending it to their friends, and it's just exploding. Yeah. And then I get a text from Sarah Silverman who says, I have a friend that works at the White House who says you should probably stop. You're getting yourself in some. And then the publicity head of FX wrote me and said, we need you to stop this. I didn't understand that everybody was reading it. I'm like, what? And I'm drunk. And I'm like, so what? Anyway, I was hired to host the Congressional Correspondents' Dinner. It's right before the presidential one, the White House. And Greta Van Susteren said on CNN, I'm boycotting that dinner because that pig, Louis C.K., said these things about Sarah Palin. Also, the woman who testified before Congress to say that college students should have their abortions paid for, Sarah something, Rush Limbaugh called her a slut. He said, we're not going to pay for you to have an abortion because you're a college slut. And so all the Democrats were like, that's terrible that he called her that. But then Bill Maher called Sarah Palin a cunt and gave $1 million to Obama with a giant check. And then I said that she has Chinese people living in her cunt. I didn't call her a cunt. That's different. And I was going to host the dinner. So I found out, I called my mom. I said, I'm being boycotted. She said, get out. Call them now and say, you're not doing it. So I got out.
Oh,
I didn't do it. And I dodged the thing and it got weird and ugly. So I'm at SNL 40th anniversary and Sarah Palin is there. And I see her. I'm in the audience, which is all famous people, like the Rolling Stones, Jack Nicholson, all of the SNL that ever was, but also just the most famous people in the world. And I was there presenting something, so I was there. And I look up, and I just see Sarah Palin looking at me like this, like just looking at me. And I'm like, fuck.
Oh, shit, she knows. Oh, shit.
So... and earlier than that, there was a documentary made about how much people hated Sarah Palin, and it was a big conspiracy. And that documentary was directed by Steve Bannon. And I was in it, saying something about her. And my lawyer told me, and I said, well, tell him to take it out because they didn't have my permission. So he called Steve Bannon, and Steve Bannon said, well, he wanted to interview me. And I said, no, just leave. You can have the footage, but I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sarah Palin, I'm at the SNL party afterwards, and she's standing right there, and she says, my nephew is a big comedy fan, and he said I have to say hi to you. And I said, I'm sorry. And she said, what? I said, I apologize. I said, I wrote some really awful things about you on Twitter. I would never apologize to, like,
of course,
the world, but this woman's standing in front of me.
Of course.
I said, listen, that's not what I do, is like attack people. And I don't know if it hurt your feelings, but if it did, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
And she said, well, that's really something. I really, really appreciate that. She said, if you ever come to Alaska, come and go ice fishing with me. And I thought, I might get to fuck Sarah Palin. And so she wrote a book and she put a little chapter about me. And she described that moment faithfully. about how I came up and apologized to her. And she said, of all the things that all of the people said about me, the terrible things that were ever said about me, he's the only man that has ever apologized to me. So that's my Sarah Palin story.
Yeah.
But okay, so Obama